There we go. Got my pillow here and I'm live. It's the Nazarite bringing you Hebrew lore from days of yore. This lovely, lovely springy day in Yerushalayim. It was beautiful and sunny today, and now it's chilly and dark outside. And I'm over here in this lovely home broadcasting, and it's such a pleasure. I'm going to speak of an ongoing dialogue between myself and little Andre on purity without a temple. Not well, yes, on that. And first, I'm going to finish the hey, little Andre, look at you. You're here. So we're going to do that. I'm going to talk about our back and forth a little bit. And so feel free to chime in. And I'm going to read from the comments. Hey, Nazarites in the house. How you doing, Seth? I'm going to read from the comments from Monday. Little Andre, incidentally, you said at the time, since you talk about poo-poo in channel sometime, is seagull bird poop unclean? Unclean how? If you're near poop, in a certain vicinity, 4 cubits, arba amot usually, which is just over a meter or about a meter and change, then there are certain things which you are not allowed to utter, like the name of God. You need to have a certain distance. Certain things sometimes need to be covered. There's a certain issue of proximity when it comes to saying certain brachas, right, brachot, or performing certain mitzvahs with poop there. But is it unclean in the sense of what? How is it unclean? You tell me. Tyler said, "Do you play an instrument?" Well, I play guitar. Some of you saw me play positive or attempt to do a half-assed improv of positive vibration on one of the shorts a while back. A short while ago. I am 35, said Tyler, and been playing drums since the age of 5. Wow, 30 years of drums. That is awesome. You must be very good. He must be very good. Every time I get down or I'm happy, I play. I play to give glory to God. That's lovely. I hope to do the same. And I have done it in the past. I hope to continue to do so. That's a fine way of looking at it. There is a Hasidic teaching, or perhaps it's our sages in the Midrash. Anyway, there is a teaching in Orthodox tradition that the hall, right, the sacred upper echelons of the spiritual realms, something like that, right? They're called halls, heichalot. It's said that the hall of tshuva, of repentance, of returning, is adjacent to the hall of music, and that there's a connection between music and repentance or returning to oneself, to God, to Torah, commandments, and covenant. This idea of music being able to transform as something embodied physically in the Levites, who would be minstrels, who would write music, perform it, and they would also guard the temple, but and assist. But they would be minstrels and vocalists, choirs of Levites. And others over the years, specifically the Hasidic niguns, the melodies, the arias, let's say, to call it that. You could do it alone, you could do it in a crowd. These melodies and these pieces of music, of vocal singing, right? Of vocals, rather, of singing. What's vocal singing? Vocals, singing that are rooted in very, let's say, high spiritual places. It's as if a tzaddik, a rebbe of some kind, right? A chassid was channeling into creation a certain divine energy. And instead of putting it into words, and instead of putting it, through different verses or making connections in that which already existed, they're using the language of music to convey something that was otherwise or could otherwise be words. Now, I'm really simplifying it. You could make the argument, if it can be written in both, then why choose one over the other? Music is very close to the hall of repentance, of tshuva, of returning. Music is a very, very important piece of, well, even of modern day Orthodox ritual. There are the nigunim, there is the ta'amim, right, the trup of the melodies of the Torah and the prophets and the different scrolls, and again, the Levites I mentioned, in the temple and the tabernacle. Okay, let's see. to give glory to God. Karen said, have you heard about the lead curse, the lead curse or lead curse, lead curse talisman that was found at Mount Eval near the altar of Joshua? No, I have not. I wonder if it's a recent finding. I don't know if Karen is here right now in the live stream. I'm not sure. No, probably not. No. But I have not heard of it. And little Andre said to Ariel, the longbow. That must be really cool. Wish I could shoot with one. I hope you'll be able to do that if that's what you want, man. Pinky Winky, said Robert, and little Andre capped off. Well, you finished the previous one and you began this one. I appreciate your viewership, little Andre. But first, let me take a selfie. Karen, shalom, you said to her. When are you going to talk about the authorship of the Book of Song of Songs? Good question. Maybe sometime you'll get an answer. But right now, moving right along, first let's go to the chat for a second. Little Andre says, she left me roses by the stairs. But isn't men supposed to leave women roses, though? Well, I don't think there is a supposed to. Someone recently told me that many men get flowers for the first time at their funeral. You told me that. Hello, woman. So, men supposed to leave them? I don't know what's supposed to, but why shouldn't she leave him roses by the stairs? Should surprises let him know she cares? Either way, I would have loved it if a woman would leave me roses. Always loved that part of the song and thought. Yeah, that, late night, come home, work sucks, I know. It's this partnership of suffering together. It can make a bond. Definitely make a bond. And getting through the suffering, which builds a foundation. Little Andre says, Derech Hagav, by the way, meaning, I was referring to the unclean sea creatures that seagulls eat. I've stepped on bird poop a lot, I think, or pee. Okay, so you weren't talking about seagull poop, but you were talking about the creatures that seagulls eat. So bold of you to assume that I would know off the top of my head what seagulls eat. I'm going by Finding Nemo. So I don't know how scientific it is, though they do their research. I'm going to speak of the back and forth we had. But first, that you and I had, little Andre. But first, Sean Steinschreiber said, listening to your talk on truth, or my truth, inspired me to pause my hike this morning and think and write this. I hope I can clearly share my thoughts. To me, says Sean, the extent of the validity of my truth is a huge door with millions of peepholes all around it. It is all true to the point of view or perspective. I hope that makes sense. So you let me know, those watching now or later, let me know what you think of what he said. What I wrote to him is that I understood, I think, what he meant. There's like an innate and almost inescapable subjectiveness to truth because viewpoints differ. And with some views, some peepholes, they may be further away or closer, they may be a little distorted or perfectly clear, but the peepholes are there and they are projecting some sort of, not modicum, some fashion of that truth. When you come down to practicality, it makes a big difference. But I think I understood what he meant. So I just saw this. Well, no, I saw this earlier, but I'll read it again now. He said I asked him how his hike was. Wait, did I finish my thought on those peepholes? Right. So I wrote to him that some peepholes are potentially more true than others, and offer a more correct and realistic view of what exists on the other side of the door. And I asked him how his hike was. He said the hike was great, also to an extent. He said, I think we are in agreement on the peepholes. However, I feel they may be all right and true. It is then our own thoughts, actions, and such that corrupt the point of view. I am sure that probably makes it even more muddy, but it's my thoughts on it. So okay, let's break this down a little bit. There's a big door, peepholes all around it, right? Of varying sizes and different even limitations or obstructions even at times. And they're all pointing at that same thing. They may be all right and true. Right meaning not wrong, and true meaning on point. So if you feel they all are right and true, it is then our own thoughts, actions, and such that corrupt the point of view. Okay, so at some point, if we're talking about it as a door with a lot of peepholes, it means that the way we view the world, if we are looking through that peephole and seeing something distorted, it means that our view prior to even glancing through the peephole, our view was already distorted. So when we look through the peephole, we will see a distortion where somebody with good vision, let's say, would see it, as he put it, right and true. So the peepholes are all clear, they're all showing the same thing, and it's our own thoughts, actions, and such that corrupt the point of view. That's what he said. It's interesting. I'm less inclined. We are in agreement that there are many peepholes, but I still say that some reflect, because of their own, let's say, flaws or differences, that they, in and of themselves, as points of view, well, no, but we're all affected. We're all affected by, right, thoughts, actions, the environment. It's like a, I don't know what to call it. Let's see. I want to get into this a little bit because it has very pragmatic implications, right? In the way that Sean go about life, it matters. So, at the risk of having a few dead moments here, which I don't really like to have for long, I'm just gonna go here a bit on the fly. So he says, "My truth, the validity of it, is a huge door with millions of peepholes. It is all true to the point of view or perspective." Right. So millions of peepholes all around it, a huge like spherical thing, holes all around it. It is all true to the point of view or perspective. Well, point of view or perspective are precisely fashioned by our thoughts and actions and such. And you're saying that I think there's a sort of contradiction here, or maybe not, if not a contradiction, something might be amiss. Yeah, it does make it more muddy. So you know what? You had it right at the end. For me right now anyway, with the way I'm reading it, and I might be reading it wrong, and maybe I'll get it another time when I think of it again. He says, "I'm sure that it probably makes it even more muddy, but it's my thoughts on it." I appreciate your thoughts, Sean. I really do. Let's see if there was anything on that right here. Shalom Achi, says Robert. Shalom to you. I hope you and Paul are doing well. Also, Derech Hagav, says little Andre. I forgot to say last time that some of Elisa Lipkin's videos between 100 and 200 views, so she should have at least 200 subscribers because she's such a good rabbi. But she only have 80 subscribers now. Well, it's that doesn't mean that she should have that necessarily. No, she could have a very small amount of subscribers doing a lot of views, generating a lot of minutes, and hours watch time. Never knew, says Robert, that the prophet Elisha had a Hebrew king shoot an arrow eastward to break the oppression of Syria on Israel. Yes, it was Aram. That's correct. And he did it only twice, if I'm not mistaken. And he would have said, and Elisha told him, if you would have done it like 5 times, right? 5 times? He says something like that. He didn't do it enough. That's what Elisha told him. So you will only beat them for a short while. But if you would have done it more, you would have obliterated them completely. Or something to that degree. So yeah, that happened. Who was it? It was Tzidkiyahu? No. I don't remember. I don't remember who. No, not Tzidkiyahu. It was much later. I don't remember who it was. I don't remember which king. But yeah, he shot an arrow. Little Andre says, after your dialogue with Sarah, you should have like hundreds of subscribers now. No, I don't think so. I think that those who were supposed to reach that link which she posted, that it arrived, on their feed. Those who were moved to show up during the live stream or watch it afterwards did so. And those who were moved because of that, and it was only one or two, I think, or maybe more, and I'm not seeing them, and YouTube doesn't notify me of everyone, but I think it was just one or two. And even if that is the case, okay, I'm really, really grateful. So, hundreds of subscribers, perhaps, time will tell. I was close to 900 with, or did I pass it? No, I was close to 900 with the old channel. All in good time. I just want to keep doing this. I want to keep speaking. I want to keep engaging with you people. I want to have that dialogue I want, and I do want to reach 1,000 to be able to go live from my phone. I really, really want to do that. All right, me, myself, little Andre, talking of ritual purity. Says little Andre, what is the point of being ritually clean if there's no temple which houses the kavod, the glory or honor? Never gotten an answer to this, he says. So I said, and I've mentioned this, hang on, because not all ritual purity relates directly to the temple and its services. That's why it is still important to have, even if there is no standing temple or tabernacle. Some ritual purity and impurity still exists without a temple, I told him. By his rationale, any type of ritual or service would be null and void because we have no temple where there was ritual and service. But that's not the case. Ritual and service continues, modified to a great degree, but they're nevertheless and not completely taken out. The Hebrew faith existed many years without a physical place of dwelling, I said, and it continues to exist without it now. We, human beings, right? We are the original place of dwelling. The tent of meeting, the temple, the first and the second one, they are a means to an end, a very important one. They signify a lot, and it's a very unique and sacred structure, but it's a means to an end nonetheless. We can potentially achieve that end and the beginning, I said in parentheses, without a physical place, right? I'm a big proponent of having the potential of bypassing that physical thing if we all get our act together collectively and do the right thing at the right time and be truthful, be men and women of truth. So he says, little Andre said, he said, all ritual impurity, I'm pretty sure, does relate to the temple. Give me one example, he said, of where it's not connected to the temple, particularly when somebody was banished from the community in the Tanakh, when there were no kavod, no glory or honor of God in their midst. So I gave him the example of a woman when she's done menstruating, and a man when he has a semen emission, and what was the third one? The third one was people purifying themselves after sleep. All three of those involve water. Now, after giving birth, for instance, there is a ritual that goes on in the temple that has to do with the sacrifices and the altar and things of that nature. The purity itself can be attained with a mikveh and with waiting a specific number of days, or just that day, or 33 days, 66 days, 7 days, 2 weeks, whatever the case may be, under different circumstances, you wait a certain period of time before immersing in the living water. Continues little Andre and says, that's exactly what I'm saying. What's the point of performing a ritual pertaining to the temple if there's no temple? You can perform it, but it would mean nothing really, which is where we disagree, right? That's where he and I disagree. I think it does mean something because the idea of ritual cleanliness and ritual purity is not confined to the temple alone. It is of great utility to the temple services, obviously, and there are certain degrees of purity and impurity that are directly, completely related to the temple and who is and is not allowed to go there and when. But there's also a ritual purity which existed before the temple and persists and exists after the temple. So he continues and says, Never said it didn't. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. What did he? Okay. So I said that we are the original place of dwelling. And he said, I never said it didn't say that we are the place of dwelling or that it needs to. I'm, of course, well aware of that and agree that that we need no temple in order to exist or continue. But one does not have to be ritually clean then. It's more extra burdens the rabbis loaded on the people nowadays. Well, look, the only ritual cleanliness that is deoraita from the Torah, or doraisa, from the Torah, is the ritual cleanliness of a menstruating woman and a woman who gives birth. And some say a bride on her wedding day. That too. Yeah, those are just off the top of my head. So let me think of what he said here. You don't need to be ritually clean. It's more extra burdens. There is no doubt that extra burdens and chumras, strictness, right, is being placed in many, many cases. And there are those who say, no, 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 we are simply exposing what was and always was the Hebrew faith, the Jewish tradition. We're probing more at it, but we're not inventing anything new. Now, to some degree, that's true because halacha is a tad frozen, seeing as we have no Sanhedrin, right? No court, no high court. But I digress. I feel and know, for me personally, just for me, there is a great, great uh, difference in ritual cleanliness. I've gone to the mikveh many times in my life, Todaleya. And the difference that it makes, even if it's only sort of psychosomatic, right? Where I go into those clean living waters and I dunk myself, I immerse myself completely naked, and I come out renewed, refreshed, like a baby out of the womb. It changes something. It opens up certain um, pools of energy, or rather, it frees certain blockages. Let's put it that way. And even if it's only me psyching myself up, thinking that this makes a difference, when in fact it makes no difference, it matters to me. And so we don't have to be ritually clean, but there is utility in cleanliness as such, right? In and of itself, because it can orient you and it can guide you. And when you have a cleaner body and a cleaner mind, and I haven't attained these 100% by any means. Let's make that very clear. But I know from glimpses of it where I was truly in the moment, truly in the mind, truly in the body, which was clean and as pure as can be for me, without a temple, again, without purifying waters. It's amazing, and it helps to elevate the entire individual. The world is different after a mikveh. I know that, like, I've felt it many, many times. And like I said, you could say, no, it's a bunch of crap, religion, brainwashed. You go into a little pool and you come out and you think, what, that made a difference in something? And the fact is that if I decide that because of that, something might be different, that already is having an effect on my life, right? That stone being cast into the pool and the ripple that expands. And the mikveh can do that. And other sorts of ritual uh, purity, oh, what would you call it? Elements can do that. Things like washing the hands. There's even a ritual for those who are unable to get to a mikveh, right? There's a certain ritual of washing your hands a certain number of times in a certain way, ideally with your mind focused on. What do you people think out there? Or little Andre, if you have more to say on it, because you might still be during the broadcast here. So let's see. Let's go to the chat, see if there's anything there. Yes, here we are. Tyler, hey, hi there, Tyler. Sorry on Monday to. Hey, it's all good, man. It's difficult when you are constricted, right, in the amount of text that you can put in one shot, in one go. And I appreciate you even making the effort to A, tune in, and B, engage with me here. It means a lot to me. I appreciate it. So don't be sorry. It's all good. It's an ongoing dialogue. about staying strong, about locking my hair and beard. I was talking about staying strong from the haters in life and family. I'm good spiritually. Ah, okay. Well, I'll tell you. The way that I did that, first of all, I had no hate. No hate whatsoever. There was misunderstanding. There was misapprehending, which caused certain people to give me a side eye and not. But they don't need to understand, as far as I'm concerned. They can look at it, with the side eye, and they. But if you're saying haters, I don't know. I don't know because I don't know the nature of the hate you're getting, nor do I know how susceptible or vulnerable you are. Um, so I wouldn't presume to know what you can do, but everything I said applies. Fortify yourself. Keep walking the path day by day. Talk to yourself. Talk to the Most High. Build the foundations where you can and where it's available to you. Use the tools that are available when they're available. But I'm really happy to hear that you're good spiritually. Little Andre says, maybe they just clicked those and your video, but didn't actually watch it all, or just not interested in either channels. Yes, that actually could be, because this is highly, highly micro niche. Because I don't use the term Jewish, that would already widen it even. I use the term Hebrew, which is smaller, and Nazarite, which is barely a keyword. So, not a lot of people end up here, and I love it that way. I do. Then I know that it's organic. Because if people end up here, and if people stay to watch, and if people engage, and if people subscribe, and if people hit the like button, it means that the people who are interested in it are getting some value out of it. That's part of what I'm here to do. I'm here to learn from you and hopefully provide some value along the way to talk about things I want to talk about, or discuss things I want to discuss. I wonder, says Robert, I wonder why Elisha Hanavi didn't instruct him to do it more times before the Hebrew warrior done it. I think that the prophets are the spirit of prophecy, let's say. It suckles at the teats of what's called Netzach Vehod. It's two lower sfirot represented by the thighs. It's part of the lower half of the body that helps us stand upright. And there's a lot of weight on it, right? And the thighs, they carry a lot. And they move. Well, no, let's not go to the waist. Let's stay in the thighs. Netzach Vehod. The king is represented by Malchut. The king is represented by a kind of authority that a prophet doesn't necessarily possess, or at least not at the same time. You can have a leader that is a prophet. Many times that's the case. You can have a king that's a prophet. But sometimes there was a healthy tension between prophets and kings, and one that perhaps was of the right sort of time and place, right, where there was that tension, keeping each other in check. That also is not across the board. But why didn't the prophet tell the king of Israel to do it more? I think because it had to be the king's decision. And the prophet could only instruct or guide. The king is the one who had to execute. And to have that influence come once again from the prophet rather than go up from the king, from Malchut, I have a thought in my mind, but it's too. It's not completely ripe yet, and I wouldn't want to speak. I want to stay in my lane. I know I'm speaking of the tree of life right now, and of the 10 sfirot, but I see it as a direct. I see the direct relationship right there between the prophet and the king. But why? I wonder that too. But I think that it was a one-time thing. The prophet, it was a golden opportunity. It was a kind of a window. And he said that's why Elisha was angry at him. He said, you had an opportunity here and you squandered it, right? Something like that. Speaking of the temple, says Karen, the ark and things of the past. What do you think about Jeremiah's words saying we wouldn't even remember the ark or even miss it. I think that there was a covenant before there was an Ark of the Covenant. And there was Torah before there was the stone tablets. And even though the stone, the metal, the Kruvim, right, the holiest of holies, even though all of that was very high and facilitated great unions in the divine influences and revelations in the world, I think that while the ark and all those things are hidden, literally hidden from us right now, meaning have not been revealed yet, at least not to the general public, and they're certainly not in the holiest of holies in the standing temple in Zion. So it's not optimal, even if some people do claim they know where the ark is and it's disputed. I have the video that I did on it, right, on the Ark of the Covenant. I think that Jeremiah's words saying that we won't remember it or even miss it is an opportunity, right? It's a kind of crisis, but it's also an opportunity. To quote Lisa Simpson, uh, right, talking to Homer, did you know that is it Chinese or Japanese? I think it's Chinese, that the same word for crisis is also opportunity? Yes, crisis-tunity. So yeah, from the crisis-tunity of exile and destruction and death, we have the ability to not go on about the old ways, not narrow ourselves to tablets of stone, artifacts of gold, animal sacrifices, blood on a copper altar. We have the opportunity to transcend it. We have the opportunity to go beyond it with great humility. But we have the opportunity because now those things are kind of lost. The spirit of prophecy is returning. Nazarites are returning. But it's still kind of in its infancy, I suppose. And the Spirit of the Lord hasn't been poured yet upon all flesh. And still, many things are hidden. For me, for sure. Do I remember the ark? I do. Do I miss it? I do. And in the same breath, I remember that we are the ark. We are the stone tablets. We are what God wrote on. It's up to us. Those were instruments. Those were tools. Those were symbols of the covenant. We are called to execute on it, to embody it. And in doing so, we wouldn't need the metals, the stones, the blood, the wine, the oil, the grains. We wouldn't need the Nazarite's hair burning beneath the pot or cauldron. We wouldn't need necessarily that physical worship. We wouldn't need that temple. We'd be acting in such a way where the Spirit would be poured upon all flesh. That union of the male and female would come to pass. That birthing of a new world, eating of the tree of life, that can all be facilitated through us, human beings, the image of God. We were God's image before the tabernacle or the temple, and we're the image of God now, in the sense of we can do it. We have the technology. Derech Hagav, says little Andre, from the videos of yours I've seen, I really get you, man. I don't always agree, but I get you. I really do. I'm happy to hear that. I mean, we debate a lot on, in the live stream, in the comments, in the DMs, or debate. We discuss things and we disagree on certain things. Because as a former, as an unorthodox Hebrew and a Karaite Hebrew, we have our differences from the get-go. But I appreciate it, and I appreciate your viewership, as I said. Robert says, do you think it was wrong for northern Israel kings to take money from the house of the Lord's treasures to pay off an invading king, not to war with them? I've always asked myself that. Should they have not put their faith in God? Should they have not put their faith in the righteousness of the people and the army? Because even when the people of Israel are, let's say, defiled and dirty, if they are fighting for the right causes, for righteousness and peace and truth, and as people protecting their home and their land, regardless of religion, if they do it in truth and righteousness, if that land that they are protecting is a land of truth and justice and righteousness, then I would think that it would have been wrong, and the northern kings should have been more faithful. But I don't think that's the case. I think that part of the reason why everything was going wrong or awry, if to use the term, am I using it properly? Yeah, to go awry. Is things were rotten in the kingdom of Denmark. Things were rotten in the kingdom of Samaria, in the kingdom of Israel. And the prophets were saying it again and again and again. The kings, a few listened, most of them did not. Those two golden calves in Bethel and in Dan, that's a problem, you know? A holiday that's a month after Sukkot, or a month before? No, a month after. That's a problem. And I think that, as I said earlier, they used the tools that were available when they were available. They saw the opportunity to give money and riches instead of the lives of the army. So who am I to say that they did the wrong thing? It's only stuff. If that had bought them, let's put it this way. If there was an army invading, and the king of Israel would say, I'm giving all of those riches as a bribe, right? As a payoff, as protection money. But then the king would have said, if maybe we were better people and I would lead the kingdom with more righteousness and truth and justice, and if we were kinder to each other and freed our slaves and did not torment the strangers and the foreigners and did not oppress, maybe then there would not be an invading army. Maybe if we act in a peaceful way, there will be peace in the region. But that's usually not what happened. Kings continued to go in their ways. Now, I have absolutely no doubt, let's make this very clear again, as well, that had I been around at the time when the inclination for, let's say, foreign worship was rampant and burning in the hearts of men and women, I definitely would have worshipped many, many idols and engaged in many, many rituals. And I'm sure, because I would feel that fire of wanting to do it, disregarding anything and everything for the short term gain and long-term disappointment. I know what I do in my life right now that's like that in a way. And I have no doubt that that would be the case if foreign worship was still sort of rampant and if idols and things were still the thing that was going on in the tribes, right, in Israel. So that's what I think. I think they did what they did, and I hope that it would have facilitated a change, but it seems that many times it didn't. When something bad happens and we manage, like by the skin of our teeth sometimes to come through it, it's also an invitation out of the crisis to embrace an opportunity. Easier said than done, but it is nonetheless. I love you, man. We love you, says little Andre. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. At least the people who are regularly in the chat, I would presume. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate the vote of confidence. Robert says, have you personally been into the Jordan River submerged? I'm pretty sure I've been in the river, but I don't think that I went for a dunk naked, right? Immersed myself in the river. I don't think I have. I would definitely love to do that. I haven't been to a. I've been to, I've been to sort of built and constructed mikvahs recently. I haven't been to a proper body of water mikvah where I was able to be nude and immerse myself, right, in water, in the living water. I haven't done that in a long time, but it's definitely a trip, and I always love it. We are a lot alike, but also very different in other things, says little Andre. Yeah, 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 it's true. True, I love you all too. See, this is a nice little loving community. I like this. May it continue. Maybe be able to, the Beatles said all you need is love. And some would say that's cliche and oversimplifying it. But I think that those who truly love find it difficult to hate. And it would take a lot to someone who has love in their life. It would take, I think, a lot to. Well, you know what? Maybe I'm just reaching. Forget it. I'm just rambling. So I think I'm going to say goodnight. If I'm starting to ramble about love and what it can do, that might be time for me to go. Ah, I'll read a couple more. Hey, so Jesus is here. Hello, hello. I haven't. I mean, no, you have actually. Yeah, you have been around. I saw you here recently. So nice to see you again. Thanks for being here. Won't stay long. Have a dentist appointment. He says y'all have fun. Refuah shlema, a quick and speedy recovery. I hope everything is well. I hope you don't pay through the nose or the mouth, for that matter. Derech Hagav, says little Andre, I shot bullseye with a custom-made bow today, but it was a bronze tip and blunt, so it didn't go in. But the owner of the bow saw it and agreed that it would have been bullseye. Hey, look at you. Good for you. Robert says hello to Jesus. Jesus says hello to Robert. Robert asks, was Elisha from Levi? Traditionally, yes. Elisha ben Shaphat, the prophet, was a Levite. Yes, yes. Little Andre says, he called it the one that got away. His exact words, Derech Hagav, he says. He gives archery classes, but he lets me shoot for free. Because, well, maybe not because we bring them fertilizer for free. Oh, well, good for you, man. So it's like a barter sort of thing. You're bartering lessons or shots. Robert says there's a commentary on that about not doing it more times as missed opportunity. I don't know if it's true. Yeah, it makes sense that it would be a missed opportunity because that's precisely what Elisha tells him. It says Vayiktsov, right? Doesn't it say he became angered? Vayiktsov, I think it says, Hanavi. Or Vayiktsov Ish HaElohim, even more. Ish HaElohim, it pertains to din, to judgment, to the left hand, to the left pillar. If I'm not mistaken. I want to look that up real quick. No, I won't look it up. I'm just going to finish the chat here, and then I'm going to go to sleep. That's what I think is going to happen. I only say Derech Hagav now, so that Jonathan won't read, by the way. By the way, I did it anyway. Had it both ways. In a German accent again. It's not Jesus, it's DJ A's. Would you please read 2 Kings 12:18 King James? I did that last time. All right. And Jehoash king of Judah took all the hallowed things that Jehoshaphat and Jehoram and Hezekiah, and Achaziah, his fathers, kings of Judah, had dedicated, and his own hallowed things, and all the gold that was found in the treasures of the house of the Lord, and in the king's house, and sent it to Hazael, king of Syria, Hazael melech Aram, and he went away from Jerusalem. Yep. Hope you are doing well, Nazarene, Nazarite. Love you too, Jonathan. Thank you so much. Did you just refer to did you just refer to as done as Denmark? No, because it's not done, I think, but I'm not sure. You too, Robert, says the Nazarene, Nazarite. All right, good people. This was fun. I'm gonna say goodbye. I hope to do a short tomorrow, but we'll see. Let's have a wonderful continuation of this week. Thank you for being here. Those watching now, those watching later, I deeply appreciate your viewership. I don't take it for granted that you would take time out of your day, out of your night, to be here, to tune in, to watch it later, to engage, to comment, the subs, the likes. It's all so, well, I cherish it, and I thank you. Let's have a good night. God bless.